Why would Joe Biden need to inspect your guard? What is that about?
It's just tradition, really. I don't think we're trying to intimidate you with our military might.
Oh, no, you should. Intimidating people with military might is our favorite national pastime.
And you're so good at it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. We worked really hard on it.
Hello, everyone, listening, watching, and watching. And welcome to episode, what is it now, Andrea? Episode 10. 10? Yes, all right. Of a very special relationship. The podcast that says, all right, there's a language, but what else do you have in common? My name is Matt Johnson. I host and write for a show called The Interesting Times on YouTube. And my co-host with the co-most is one Andrea Bridges-Smith over there from the States, who has a show called the Phoenix News Network. Welcome, Andrea. First things first, how was your 4th of July celebrations?
Oh, well, thanks for asking. So I celebrated America's birthday the way that I always do, by hating the people in our neighborhood who shoot off fireworks. Also by day drinking. That part is pretty critical. All in all, a great party filled with just booze and rage.
Oh, sounds about right. You know, we didn't get an invite. And I appreciate that would have been a bit weird, but I'll be honest, it would have been nice to have been asked.
Well, it's a little bit like asking your ex to come to the wedding, though, isn't it?
True.
Well, anyway, despite that brief kerfuffle back in 1776, you'll be pleased to know that the state of our very special relationship remains quite strong, as President Biden met with Prime Minister Rishi Sunak, as well as King Charles. Both meetings were very boring, and instead of any fistfights, there were a lot of, smiling handshakes. Reportedly, Biden did manage to avoid calling Sunak a whippersnapper out loud.
Oh, well done.
But he was definitely thinking it. Might have even been thinking it about King Charles.
Yeah. I got to say, it still seems pretty awkward between the two, between Sunak and Biden. I'm still not convinced that Biden actually knows who Sunak is. There just seems to be a bit of a tension between the two. And I'm not sure that's going away anytime soon. Well, not for another year or so when we get ourselves a new Prime Minister, fingers crossed.
Well, if not sooner. I mean, this one has got to be nearing the end of his ripeness, right?
Well, yes, absolutely.
So after his meeting with Sunak, Joe Biden and King Charles met at Windsor Castle, where they discussed climate change, and they urged businesses to build more clean energy in developing countries. King Charles then cranked down the AC in his 1,000-room castle, while Biden flew off in one of the world's biggest private jets. Good work, boys.
Yeah, we're still getting flooded in northern cities in England too. And I know you've had your fair share of crazy weather over there in the US, right?
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. Basically, if you don't sprout gills in the next couple of years, you could be in serious trouble. But the UK media do like to put things in perspective, Andreas, which is why all the papers here are talking about old Joe not following royal protocol. Basically, you're not allowed to touch the king, unless, of course, you're trying to get out of checkmate.
Yeah, Biden is known for getting a little bit handsy at times. Sorry for not warning you about that in advance.
Yeah, it does seem as well that he's trying to steady himself sometimes, maybe more than anything else.
Could be. He's very tall, so his center of gravity is, all over the place. And he's also very old, so he's got both of those things going on at the same time.
Right. Also, when he was inspecting the guard, he's not allowed to walk in front of the king. That's just good manners, really. And King Charlie boy had to move him on after he started gassing with one of the soldiers for a bit too long. Look, I'm sorry, Andrea, that's just such an American tourist in London move. So, if any non-Londoners are watching, please understand one thing before you come to our great capital, is that we don't like conversations with people we don't know. Just get on the tube, read the adverts above everyone's head, or stare at your mobile. You don't even have to turn it on, but whatever you do, no eye contact and no small talk, medium talk, or big talk. No talking with anyone. But anyway, I'm going to stick my neck out and say that Joe and Chaz got on pretty well, I think. In fact, it's the most I've seen Biden smile since he landed.
Well, I will try and remember to not ever speak to anyone when I come visit. I do have a quick question for you, though. Why would Joe Biden need to inspect your guard? What is that about?
I don't think they can be trusted. Although, although I do quite like the idea of the president just walking past all of them and just going, "It was this guy, take him away." How frightening would that be for the poor sod? Joking aside, it's just tradition, really. I don't think we're trying to intimidate you with our military might.
Oh, no, you should. Intimidating people with military might is our favorite national pastime.
And you're so good at it.
Well, thank you. We appreciate that. We worked really hard on it. So after the visit to London, once the guard inspection was finished, I guess, Biden et al. Headed off to the NATO summit. And, I'm a little bit concerned. I think it's maybe not the best idea to have NATO summit in Vilnius, which is right next door to Belarus, which is Russia's biggest ally. Wondering if we could maybe scooch that meeting a little farther away from the range of Russian missiles, given that Ukraine will probably be joining the organization at some point.
Yeah, at least don't drink the tea, right? Yeah.
Right.
Although, apparently Zelensky is a bit frustrated with the lack of a timetable on them joining the NATO, and you can't blame him, really. I mean, obviously they can't join while Russia's doing manoeuvres in the south, but it would be kind of insane for them to have fought effectively for however long, probably over a 2-year war, and hopefully to have won it, only for NATO to go, you know what, I don't think this is a good fit.
That sounds a little bit like the current job recruitment process in the States, actually. Really string you along there. Now, Biden's got a little bit of controversy over providing cluster bombs to Ukraine. And I actually read an article the other day where someone was saying that the U.S. is running out of military ammo because we've given it all to Ukraine. And that is ridiculous. We may not have well-functioning healthcare, and we may not have living wages that can actually support people, and we may not have fully funded schools, and we may not have safe, modernized infrastructure, but by God, we've got plenty of ammo.
Oh, well done. That is one thing that America has which makes all of us non-Americans scared of you. Oh, I mean, respect you. That's right. Especially true for the UK, where basically the UK is that annoying kid that spits at people and deliberately bumps into them in the school corridor. But when one of the other kids squares up to us, we whistle for you.
Well, hey, if you guys ever need some ammo, call us. We've got a guy. And by a guy, I mean an entire multi-billion-dollar industry of mass death at our beck and call.
Oh, put that on the back burner, maybe. By the way, Andrea, put that on the back burner. Is that an American expression?
I actually thought that was a British expression, meaning move a pot of whatever you're already boiling so that you can boil something else. I know you guys love a good boil over there, right?
Yeah, absolutely. You know us too well. All right, I'm just Googling. Let's have a look. Would you believe that burner is just an old-timey expression for an oven, which you probably guessed that, but it actually does come from the US. So thank you, Google. Sometime in the 60s. So there you go. Before your time, Andrea.
Yes, I am definitely an old lady, but not quite that old yet.
Yeah, I am, though. So, Andrew, we've got a COVID inquiry going on at the moment to find out if we did all the things that we could in terms of being prepared and keeping everyone safe. Now, I don't want to preempt things, but I think that's likely to be a big fat no on that one. Anyway, are you guys having an inquiry, or do you feel that it was all handled pretty okay over there? Not being facetious, by the way. It's a genuine question.
Well, first of all, I like the idea that you guys are learning from your mistakes, but we don't really do that here. I would say the one thing that unites this very divided country, other than maybe a fondness for nachos, is that no one thinks COVID was handled well. At the time, we had President pour some bleach into your veins Trump in office, and while he did direct funds for vaccines and publicly recommended them, he also threw a super spreader event on the White House lawn. So basically, everyone in this country either thinks we did way too much or not nearly enough, and we definitely all have 5G controlling our thoughts. And to the people who are doing the 5G thought controlling, I would say, could we maybe crank down the anxiety just a hair? Matt, do you guys have your thoughts controlled by 5G over on that side of the Atlantic too?
Yeah, only if we can get it. If not, then it's controlled by the weather. No. The reason I was asking was that over here, the government seems to be handling the COVID inquiry in the same manner that they handled COVID. Basically, by kicking the can down the street. Sorry, I do love American expressions. Basically, any situation has an American expression to fit it, so I'm going to be using quite a few. So, the inquiry were given powers to check through any documents that the government had. So the inquiry asked for Boris Johnson, who was the Prime Minister at the time, for his diaries and WhatsApps and notebooks. Boris Johnson agreed. Rishi Sunak, the new PM, didn't and took the inquiry to court and lost, which everybody, including them, said they would probably do. So they handed the stuff over, but they didn't hand over Johnson's WhatsApps, as they don't have his phone. Johnson has it. He hasn't handed the phone over yet, even though the deadline has passed, and he's struggling to do so, as, get this, Andrea, they can't turn on the phone as it was part of a security breach after they'd learned that his number, the Prime Minister's personal number, was freely available on the internet for 15 years. Now, that would normally sound ridiculous until you remember who we're dealing with, right? Oh, and the code name that we assigned for the phone, Phone 1. I mean, just beggars belief.
Phone 1, that lacks a little bit of pizzazz. See, over here they'd give the president's phone some really cool secret agent nickname like Eagle's Beak or the Ear of Freedom or Strike Force Nuclear 2 Electric Boogaloo. Honestly, Matt, you got to work on your naming over there.
I can have a few of those, definitely. They all sound great. In fact, could we have a trade agreement? Could that be part of a trade agreement?
Sure, yeah, we'll pencil that in under something about potatoes or apples. I've heard a lot about your British apples from your former prime minister. Those are very important to you, apparently.
And cheese, and pork markets. Oh, yes. Dear.
Yeah, we'll get it all sorted out. All right, well, that's all the time that we've got for this week. I want to thank our wonderful audience for listening/watching and tell you that outfit looks great on you. Big thanks to you, Matt, as well. Always good to see you. And if you need a little of our company until we return next week, you can head to @Phoenix News Network on Friday for a fresh news report from the U.S. And for some news from across the pond, head on over to Matt's channel @The Interesting Times UK. Thanks for being with us, and we'll see you next time.